I just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this webinar, and thank you so much to our panelists for coming in. I want to just quickly introduce them, and then as soon as we go through, I'll give a little bit more of an extensive interview. We have Brian Colon with us, State Auditor. We've got Flora Lucero, Chair of the Democratic Party of Bernalillo County. We've got Brenda Pace with us, co-chair for Ward 16A. And of course, we got Miranda Van Dyke with the state as the communications director. We're very lucky to have them here to do our webinar with us. Also joining me is Jenny Dominic. She's one of our precinct chairs in Ward 16A as well. She will be providing the questions. So we're going to do this a little bit differently. I know that some of you may be used to using the Q&A section. We will be using exclusively the chat box for this webinar. So before we go into introductions, I just want to go ahead and give our housekeeping and Zoom norms for everyone. We have set a time frame for this meeting for 90 minutes. Each of our panelists will be speaking for about 5 minutes. We will have a Q&A section for them immediately following their presentation. Once we finish and conclude, we will have an opportunity for general questions for all participants and comments at the end. So as I mentioned, Jenny will continue to keep a track of those and make sure that we keep those in mind for the general Q&A at the end of our webinar. Just so that you all know, we are scheduled for 90 minutes. We want to make sure that we keep that shorter. We will not go over 90 minutes, and we'll try and actually finish a little bit early. Nonetheless, if you need a break, of course, feel free to do that. All of your microphones are muted. Only the panelists are on screen, so don't worry about having to go to the restroom, having some drink, or anything like that. You should be fine. As I mentioned, we are communicating only through the chat box. So if you guys are familiar with that, great. If not, then you can use your screen towards the bottom to make sure that you have that option. Send it to our panelists. As I mentioned, Jenny will keep track of those. If you have a question, please put a question mark in front of your question so that we can identify it quickly before having to read the entire comment or question. If you're just doing a comment, you can just go ahead and make your comment. If you are comfortable using your name and identifying, if you know which precinct you're from, if you know what ward you're from, we could really use that information. That would be great. We will keep all of that. I will keep a time and making sure that we allot that for training. Just so that you know, you can maximize your screen so you can see all panelists. It's better for visibility. And of course, if you minimize your household distractions, then we can make sure that you get as much information as you can. Along with this slide, there will be other information that we will be providing. If you are a Westside Dems member, you will be getting an email with all of this information as well as resources towards the end. Please make sure that you have paid your $10 dues. I know that we normally do that during our meetings because of the whole pandemic and being in social isolation. We need to make sure that we reach out to you. You can write out a check. You can go to the website and do the link. And we'll also provide a little bit more of that information on how you can send that $10. We'll continue to work hard for you and provide you with these resources and trainings. And those $10 membership dues really do go a long way. So that can be very helpful for us. And if you have any questions, of course, you can always ask Jenny, and we'll make sure that we provide you with that link when necessary. We will also be having a lot of special guests that will be joining us via video. We'll be introducing those periodically throughout the webinar as well. So with that, I want to introduce really quick one of our first special guests, Samuel Nevares, via our video chat.
Hola, my name is Samuel Nevares, community organizer and activist in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The pandemic has affected all of us, especially us community organizers, killing the ability to be able to organize our community. Fortunately for me, I have mastered this video conferencing app called Zoom. Zoom has been giving me the ability to be able to communicate and share information with my community of more than 50 people. Not only that, but I've used this platform to communicate with my familia in Doña Ana County, where I have more than 100 family members. We've been able to view each other and see each other without leaving the comfort of our home. No tienes que salir de tu casa para disfrutar un par de bebidas con tu familia. Happy quarantine.
So that was Samuel Nevares with his information. So one of the questions that we'll be asking of you, our viewers and our participants, is to answer some questions so that we can have some feedback and provide that to our panelists. Our first question for you is, what apps are you already using to communicate? You know, most of you are using Zoom, so I'm sure that you're using that. What other apps are you using? And how comfortable are you using Zoom or any of the other social media applications that you have? Please keep that in mind and provide us some feedback as we listen to Brian Colon. Many of you know him. He's an outstanding member of our community. He was my mentor when I was in law school. He's mentored hundreds, if not thousands, of young people here in the state of New Mexico. He is the star of Cafecito con Colon. You may know him as the auditor of the great state of New Mexico, doing the fine work of the fine people of the state of New Mexico. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Auditor Brian Colon.
Damian, thank you for your generous introduction. And one of my badges of honor is that I was able to pour into you as a young professional. And as often the case in my journey, my mentees become my mentors. And that is always a real privilege. And the older I get, the more capacity I have to take pride in seeing young people just blossom into incredible community leaders. And you, Damian, are one of those incredible leaders. I'm grateful for all the work that you've done in the community, not just in community organizing, but in the legal community, in the immigration community. And you've become a real superstar in the sector. And I just thank you for putting yourself out there as a candidate and continuing to stay at the table. And for those of you that don't know my journey, I am the consummate individual who wouldn't go away until he was elected to serve. And so that tenacity pays off, because today I get to live my dream. 512 days of service in the office of the state auditor, and every one of them has been living my dream. And I'm grateful to do that. So thank you, Damian, for that introduction. I don't know if we're going to get into Q&A here. I will start out by answering kind of the general question that you provided. And indeed, yes, you will see by my button here, I am the star of, and if you want to be a star, you just produce your own show and you can be the star. And I am the star of Cafecito con Colon. I'm the colon in Colon every morning at 9 a.m. on Facebook Live via Zoom. We have streamed on many different types of apps and platforms, but always in a very basic way. There's no fluff. There's no big production. It is a very organic and authentic presentation on any given day. And we are on streaming live every day at 9 a.m. Monday through Saturday, 6 days a week. I will tell you that in terms of platforms that I use Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I'm not on Vimeo any longer. I do use and connect up my shows to the LinkedIn application. And I'm getting a lot of feedback, and I don't know if it's on my side or your side. Are we doing okay?
I hear you fine. Are the participants doing okay? Yeah.
Okay, we're going to assume they are. Thank you. And those are generally the platforms that I use, and also Twitter. If I mentioned Twitter, we've streamed live to Twitter before, but primarily I use Zoom to Facebook Live. That is the main platform that I use for Cafecito con Colon. But often, and in different presentations, I'll use any one of those given apps as my method of getting my community organizing out and my message out.
Brian, how have you kept people motivated during this time?
For me, this really started out. I wish I could say that, look, I realized the importance of this election and I wanted to make sure that we kept people engaged. And so I started Cafecito con Colon to motivate people to make sure that they participated in the census, and then they participated in the primary and got ready for the general. I just can't be honest and look you in the eye and say that, because the truth of the matter is that very early on, 10 weeks ago, I realized that we were going to be in a quarantine mode. And I knew that interacting with people is what puts oxygen in my blood cells and allows me to be fulfilled. And so I quickly realized that I needed a way to interact with individuals. And so I decided that I would go live to Facebook on a daily basis and started doing that. And I've had phenomenal guests. We've done about 60 episodes so far, or maybe even a few more than that at this point. But we have kept people engaged by consistency. And I think that if there were two things that I would tell people about their social media feed, is that they should be consistent, but above all else is to be authentic. What you know of me in real life is exactly what you see on Cafecito in the morning. My corny jokes, my cockeyed smile that is not exactly symmetrical because I've recovered from Bell's palsy over the years. All these things that were quirks about me, you're going to find them on Cafecito con Colon. The love that I have for people and that I have for lifting up individuals, you'll find it every day on Cafecito. It's who I am, and I don't adjust for my social media feed. And I think that's why people continue to tune in. On any given morning, we have anywhere from 30 to 100 live viewers. And by the end of any given day, we have between 1,000 and my top viewed show or a couple shows are up around 3,000 at this point, which is not huge. And that's the other thing I would tell people is that if you are going to do virtual media engagement, to make sure that and maybe you won't have this problem, but I personally am very sensitive and I pay attention to all the numbers. I can tell you how many days I've been in office. I'm your auditor, so you like that about me probably. But make sure you manage your expectations, right? Like I have a friend who does a daily meditation, and he's been doing it from YouTube to Facebook or vice versa, Facebook to YouTube. And I see that on any given day, he's got like 10 views. And I feel like I'd want to jump out my window here if I only had 10 people that engage with me on Facebook. But I've had to learn to really just be grateful for anybody that I'm willing to connect with or that is willing to connect with me on Facebook in that very authentic way. And I hope that answers your question, but that's how I've tried to keep people engaged. They know what to expect. They know I'm going to start right at 9 o'clock. They know that if they get on at 9:01, I'm already going to be going. I'm a clock watcher by nature. They know that about me. They know that I'm going to be bringing on super spectacular individuals and highlighting phenomenal things going on in our community. And they know they're going to get me. And that's the authentic me, not somebody who's made up for makeup. I still have just as many freckles and I've got COVID hair just like everyone else. So
that's right. Thank you so much, Brian, for that. I appreciate you leaving a little bit of time. I think if we can, we will go to Jenny for any of the questions. I think that's where you also do an exemplary job providing resources and answering people's questions. I know early on your Cafecito con Colon, that was one of the things. You have questions, and I promise to get you answers, even if it's not today. And you've always been a man of your word and being able to answer those questions so for us. So Jenny, what do we have from our viewers?
So we had a question. Brian, is your Facebook page public or is it a closed group?
That's a fantastic question. And I hope that if people are starting to get a robust following or engagement number, that you'll learn from me. And I have yet to be able to embrace my public page in a way that I probably should. I have been at 5,000 friends on Facebook for probably 2 years or at least 2 years. And I've got about 1,000 people that are friend requests that are in queue that regardless, I wrote Mark Zuckerberg and said, look, I understand you want people fishing for friends, but I think I should be able to accept friend requests at not some arbitrary 5,000 number. I'm even willing to pay for more bandwidth. Mark didn't even respond to me. So I don't know, I guess he didn't like my idea. Even though I was willing to pay. He doesn't need my money. But know that I have a completely open Facebook page. Everything I post is shareable, likable. You can view it with or without a Facebook account. You can view my stream in the mornings, and you can engage with me, but I can't accept friends. So I'm limited, right? Like that's a detriment to myself because I haven't pushed everybody over to my public page, which is the Brian Colon for State Auditor page. It's got probably 2,000 or 3,000 likes. But I have not maximized that. That's been my error, and people should learn from my error. But I will say this, the problem with the public pages on Facebook is they're not as engagement friendly. You cannot engage on your public page the way you can on a private page. Even though, you know, because my private page is so open, people are able to share it and see it and all that stuff, but they have to follow me on my private page, which is not instinctual, right? We're not used to following private pages. We're used to following organization pages or liking organization pages, right? So I have limited myself in some ways on that, and that's been to my detriment and my fault. So please learn from me. And if you do a public page or a public figure page like I have, make sure you master it in a way that gets comfortable for you. I've not been able to do that, and that's one of my faults and something I should do better at. So I end up sharing my personal page to my political page. That's the way I try and combat my fault there, and vice versa.
So, okay, we have another question. What's the hardest part of starting your own Facebook page? And would you recommend that precinct chairs and ward chairs to start one?
I think the hardest thing is just doing it, getting started. It's the first step on the journey, right? Like it's the first step of starting that. My friend starting his meditation blog in the morning or YouTube video in the morning, and he's got 3 people that watch it. Well, how do you get up the next morning for 3 people when you're doing a meditation thing that you thought was going to tip and go viral and you were going to have 1 million viewers, right? Like Alex still gets up every morning and says, I'm taking 1 step on this journey. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have 4 viewers. And now he's up to 10 or 20 or 30 and he's growing it. So I think the thing is just to make the commitment and then to make sure that you have relevant information that you're posting. Like my ward here in, or one of the wards, I think 5B, has a pretty nice, robust group page, and they do update it on occasion. And Miranda may keep better track of some of that social media communication at the party level, and does a great job with this outreach and sharing and liking and things like that. But I think it's just getting started, and I would encourage you to do that. Now, you may live in a ward that is not going to embrace it, but give it a chance. Just simply give it a chance. I will tell you that many of us can learn from what the West Side Dems looked like a few years back. I remember sitting in a circle a few years back on the West Side, and 7 or 8 people showed up at the meeting, and there was very little virtual communication, very little email correspondence. And now they have one of the most robust, consistent platforms and meetings in the Democratic Party, in my opinion. And I go to a lot of meetings. And I'm very proud of the West Side Dems for what they've built. And I think others are learning from them.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question, Jenny.
So I'm not sure what this one means, but can you give us Alex's Facebook link?
I will do that. I will post it up. He does a very good job. He like takes you to these different places like Bora Bora and the spa and all this stuff. And he's got this incredible foreign accent. I don't remember if he's from Chile or Costa Rica or somewhere. And so, you know, there's that whole romantic, fun accent that he has, unlike me, howdy doody to camera every day, you know. And Miranda doesn't even know who howdy doody is, but Brenda does. So I'm at least a partial panelist know. And Flora knows who howdy doody is. Damian, you're right on the cusp. I'm not sure if you remember howdy doody.
I've heard of them, but I'm not sure if I've actually seen them.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's one of the great things. Brian Colon not only is a star, but he is a star maker, and we really appreciate that. Thank you so much for Brian. I hope you'll stick with us for the end and be able to join us for some Q&A as well. Right now, I want to go to one of our other special guests that's here via video. Let's go real quick.
Hello, my name is Margaret Lovell, and I'm the Precinct 530 Chair. I recently developed trainings for programs I created to identify and engage voters in my precincts. For one, I used the Nextdoor app to build a private user group of motivated Democrats and receptive third-party voters. For the other, I delved into Vote Builder to locate and enlist block captains to help me organize my precinct. Videos of these trainings are available through the county party. As the Democratic National Committee encourages us to do, here in Bernalillo County, we are rolling up our sleeves, empowering grassroots voters, and organizing everywhere to take our country back. Please join me in working for a better, fairer, and brighter future for everyone. Thank you.
That was a great, and I know that she's done several trainings. Margaret Love is an outstanding community trainer and organizer as well. We do have YouTube videos that are going to be shared, resources on the county page as well. I'm sure we'll get to that in a little bit. But for now, we would like to ask you, how has the social distancing policy here in New Mexico affected your outreach to precinct and ward chairs, any volunteers or any other people that you're trying to engage with? So please keep that in mind as we're going to our next presenter, Brenda Pace. She's a longtime activist. She's Ward 16A Facebook administrator. She's the best co-chair that I could have in Ward 16A. Please help me welcome Brenda Pace.
Hi, so glad to talk to all of you. Back early this year when Damian realized that we were going to have trouble getting people to answer their doors because of all the stay-at-home concerns, he asked everybody on our team to think of good ways to do virtual outreach. And so the suggestions I'm going to mention here are from everybody in our team, not just me. And I'm going to try and pull up my cheat sheet slides right now. As you can see, Damian has been a very active user of Zoom for our group meetings, and it's important as a ward and precincts that we keep in touch with each other. We're using Zoom, which is free for short meetings. You can also use Google Meet, you can use GoToMeeting, Skype. There's plenty of options out there. You may, if you have an extrovert or two on your team, talk to them about making phone calls, because this is probably a time when people are more receptive than usual to getting a phone call from a Democrat. You can call and do a wellness check, make sure that they are doing all right. You can provide guidance to help. This particular site on the governor's website has almost every possible scenario you might run into with your neighbors. And remember, offering help makes people receptive to other conversations, such as political discussions. How can I reach 350 million people for free? Well, you don't want to reach all of those 350 million, but Facebook is a very powerful platform. Setting up a group page is easy. It's almost the same as creating a personal page. You do need at least one administrator. However, if you're insecure about it, we can add your ward to our New Mexico Democrats Ward 16A Facebook page, or I can set up a page for you, and there's my email. Set it up as private to deter trolls, unless you want to spend a fair amount of time doing administration, but that's a judgment call. Keep the content fresh, frequent, informative, and relevant. If it's not exciting, people aren't going to come back to the page. You need to make it valuable to them. It helps to also have a way of driving people to your page. Obviously, our ward doesn't have as much visibility as, say, Mr. Colon. So we have to figure out ways of getting people to want to visit our page. we're doing that in part through mailings, making sure that our Facebook page is listed on any mailings we send out. Now, while postcards are less expensive, we're looking at letters for our next mailing, in part because getting the vote out for this November election is so critical. And with so many people probably voting absentee, having them do it correctly is also critical. So we are going with a letter format based on the vote forward letters where we encourage people to vote. We're going to get a sample ballot and try and show people how to do their ballot if there's any tricky spots so that we don't have any disqualified ballots. When you do a mailing, you need to keep it personal. You need either a handwritten address to tempt the readers, or if you just don't have the staff and volunteers for that, use a handwritten looking font printed directly on the envelope or postcard rather than just a label with Times Serif. People will amazingly read a handwritten note, especially if it looks like it's from a neighbor. And you want to personalize any message by a signature, a little brief note, so that it's not just a printout. You need a call to action in any mailings you send out. Ask to register absentee, give instructions, how to request, note any confusing aspects that might throw them. You want to tempt them to open, so you need to make that envelope as appealing as possible. You might want to have an inexpensive prize, raffle that they are going to your Facebook page to see if they won, to push voters to your page. But you need to think about ways to tempt them. And if you do use a raffle, you'll want to use a randomizer like rafflecopter.com to ensure winners totally randomly get the prize. And you also want to select your people. And there's a couple of arguments. If you're looking more for people to be active as block captains and stuff, you probably want to select more active people. But when we're getting close to the elections, it makes a lot of sense to pick people who are likely to vote Democrat, but don't always vote. And if we can get out that marginal vote, it could make the difference in this election. And I don't know how I managed to keep that slide in, but it's interesting. And here we go, get funds. I have found it amazing how many people on my team are willing to donate as long as they know it's for a specific actionable project. And so, awesome, just ask and you'll be surprised how much you get. And we're looking at 2 weeks before the absentee voter deadline for our major mailing. And that will include specifics as to how to get registered and how to fill out their ballot, and hopefully push them to go to get it in the mail. So, any questions?
Jenny, do we have any questions from our participants? I did see a few. Just to remind our participants, if you are asking a question, I know that a lot of you are doing a great job of putting that question mark in front of your question. Please continue to do that. And if you haven't been doing that, please start to put that question mark so it's easier for Jenny to identify your questions.
Jenny, you're muted, and while you figure out how to unmute Jenny, I'm going to just say that in terms of the question about if any of us are willing to mentor others who are just getting started, mentorship is one of my passion points, and so I'm easy to reach. You've already received a link to my Facebook page. I'll put my cell number and my email address in the chat box, and I'm always happy to engage with people getting started. It's what I love to do.
And we appreciate that.
Brenda, I think one of the questions we had, Brenda, was asking if you'll put up a link to your page that you had mentioned in your slide deck.
Yes,
In the
I
chat.
can give a link. Yes.
Perfect. Go ahead, Jenny. I'm done. Sorry.
So Carlene brought up an
The
excellent point.
question was if people can post their Facebook page, their ward or precinct Facebook pages to the.
Yeah, so posting it there to the chat would be great, and we'll download the chat and make, get it from there. I think that's a great idea. If you have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of those social media platforms, if you could just let us know what they are, and we can, make sure that as people sign up,
Okay.
we can get that information out to them. And Dorothy, the answer is yes. That would be great. Dorothy asked if she could set up a Facebook page for Precinct 171, and I think that's a great idea, Dorothy. I think it'd be a wonderful way to connect with people in your precinct, and you're doing such a fabulous job anyway with your precinct, but I know it's hard right now not being able to have your regular meetings, so that's another way to be able to connect with people. And like I said, if you get that set up, then we can make sure that as people inquire about Precinct 171, we give them not only your contact information, but your Facebook page as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that. Let's move on to our next participant questions. If you can please let us know what successes you've had using social media or making phone calls or any of the other things that you might have as we go from there. And with that, I'm going to introduce our next panelists. I'm sorry, our next video guest speaker.
Hello, I'm Guy Watson. I helped organize the Bernie Sanders campaign. Here are some suggestions that we found useful. Bernie Sanders had, and I'm sure the Democratic Party can help with, a wonderful phone dialing system. What I have been doing with the website that I've been administrator on, which is called Albuquerque Our Revolution, get the people who are on your list to contact other members, to contact people and ask them to vote.
So that's one of the old things that some of us old timers remember is the old phone tree, right? You're in charge of calling one person, that person is in charge of calling another person, and that really moves forward. I know that in a lot of the messages people have been saying, I've been using Zoom to contact family, to stay in touch with them. Just remind them, you'll be surprised how many people don't have the link to request the absentee ballot. How many people don't realize that primary elections are still going on, that they're not canceled, that you can request a ballot and you can get it in the mail and you can send that back. Something as simple as that with your family, your neighbors, while you're talking on the phone can go a long way. Brenda mentioned that. Right now, a lot of us have a lot of interaction with those of us who are activists, but as we get closer to the general, we want to make sure that we're interacting with people that are not as active, with people that are not necessarily the star activists and stars of the Democratic Party, but who are also willing to vote Democratic, have an affinity for that, and that's very helpful. It's a good dry run to try and get people to do the absentee ballot right now. I think that would be a great way to use some of our social media that we're learning here. And you can share some of the successes that you've had with us right here. Next, I want to introduce Flora Lucero. All of us know her here from the West Side Dems. She did a great job organizing. I know that Brian Colon mentioned the start of the West Side Dems just a few years ago, where it was only a few around the table sitting down. She made a huge, huge impact on that. Now she is the chair of the Bernalillo County Democrat Party. Thank you so much for all of the work that you've done, Flora Lucero.
Thank you so much, Damian. Thank you for putting this together and for all the work you're doing. You really are a superstar. And as Brian said, you know, all that you do all the time is so appreciated. It takes a lot to run for office and to, you know, do the work of a ward chair, and you're just doing a fabulous job at that, and to bring people together. So thank you for this too. Thank you, West Side Dems. I love you, my West Siders. You're wonderful. And fellow panelists, it's so nice to be here with you all. Brian he gets his oxygen for people. I love people too, but I just couldn't carry on like Brian does every day. He's just, you're such an inspiration, Brian. You really are. It's cool, and do so much for so many. I'd like to say, you know, you had some questions about what other apps are you doing? Personally, it's not what I'm doing, but with the county party, we really are trying to expand. I have Margaret Lavelle, who you saw here in one of the videos. She has taken over our social media, and so we're really trying to coordinate our different social media pages and get those to where they are, having fresh content and consistent content. We now have a communication lead who's also working on our newsletter. You'll be seeing some changes to our website. And so really working on all the different platforms to engage people as well. Like in the newsletter, if you're reading it, you'll see that we have people submitting articles. So it's not just us, you know, putting information out to people, but we're asking people, let's hear from you too. What would you like to have be told out to the community? And so some of the other things, the outreach to precinct chairs and volunteers, social distancing. The Zoom platform is what we're offering, one of the platforms that we're offering to precinct and ward chairs. And I really enjoyed having our ward chairs and precinct chairs do forums to help let the community get to know candidates who are running. And that's been a real pleasure for me leading up now to this primary election, and seeing how they are taking the lead and organizing, and that's been a really wonderful thing. And we do have this Zoom account available to all our precinct and ward chairs for meetings and for webinars. And so love to have people be able to use that. We are now building a database. One of our big things right now is to get ready for the general election, and we need to fill, with the precinct splits, we have about 300 vacancies in precinct chairs. And so Cheryl Harris, who is one of our fabulous, wonderful Democrats on the west side in Bernalillo County, she is helping to organize to fill those precinct chair positions. And Carlene Nordholm, who is here, she and her husband Steve have done a fabulous job of creating a database of all our volunteers, and so we can help ward chairs be able to match people who are active Democrats and be able to hopefully plug them into those vacant precinct chair positions. And so that database isn't out for public consumption, but it's something to help our people who are our volunteers, our precinct and ward chairs, to be able to make those connections and get out the vote. This is a huge election coming up, and we really need to have all hands on deck. And so we are really working a lot on just helping people to engage with the Democratic Party. And one of the virtual ways we have done that is Sue Walensky, who is on the West Side Dems Training Committee, and she's also on the County Party Training Committee. We have virtual training on our County Party site. And that virtual tool is something where we can upload trainings, and we have like Margaret LaValle's training up there as a video. We have other trainings that are in the works, like with doing how to do your own newsletter. Brenda, I'd love for you to have a training there on making a Facebook page. You know, then it can be available for our ward and precinct chairs to be able to start their own Facebook pages. And we are looking at, like I said, that tool for training is available continuously. And we ask for others, if you have something that you'd like to share that you feel is important to help people connect virtually, we'd love to have a training on it. So, and hello, Jenny.
Okay, I think I'm back. So, Flora, we had a question. Who should chairs contact to access the county Zoom account?
You can contact me, chair@bernalillodems.org. Ivan Pfeiffer, you may have heard him earlier, he's the voice of God for Zoom here. And he is one of our, of course, phenomenal volunteers who has helped us in so many ways. And he and I are handling the scheduling of the Zoom account and helping people to get up to speed on it.
Great. And then we just had a comment that Brenda's presentation was great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, may I add, Damian and Flora and Jenny, I would just like to add that some folks don't know this, but you can absolutely sign up for a Zoom account at no charge. And what I would encourage you to do is just that, sign up for a Zoom account. The free platform only allows you meetings that run 40 minutes or 40 minutes or shorter. But what I would encourage you to do is to get with some of your friends to learn how to use and access Zoom and get comfortable with that free account. So then when you go over to Flora or to Ivan and you say, hey, we want to use the party platform and the Zoom account that allows us to go for 90 minutes, you'll already be comfortable with how to share a screen, check to see how many participants there are, see how you rename yourself on your little screen there. All the little tricks and tips of the trade, you can learn that on your own time, on your own personal, individual, and 100% free Zoom account. It's very easy to sign up. All you need is an email address. I highly encourage you to do that.
See that, and yet another brilliant tip and trick from Brian Colon. That's a really good idea. Thank you, Brian. Yeah. And that is, you get 40 minutes free, as many people as you want with a free Zoom account. And, you know, if you, like you said, if you want to have the webinar feature, which is what is being used for this meeting here, or if you want to have longer meetings, we're more than happy to host those for you as well.
Definitely, and you know, that as Brenda mentioned, that's what Ward 16A has been using to communicate, not just with our executive team and our precinct chairs, but we're starting to use that for the entire team. You know, we're very close-knit here on the west side, 16A, 16B, 16C, 23C, all of these other ones as well. If you don't know what precinct or ward chair you're in, please find out. I think it's a great resource that Flora's putting together so that we can start to make those links. What we found out is that, I don't know for how long Zoom will be doing it, but for a limited time, they are actually allowing you to go longer than the 40 minutes. We try to keep our meetings towards that time, but if you do run through, we've experienced it that it's actually suspended. So you can go for the full hour or 90 minutes on that free account. So that be?
I would just tell you that you have to watch the peaks and valleys, because I had the free account. I purchased a real account now. And the thing about the free account that Damian is absolutely correct on is, even if you get kicked off at the 40-minute mark, the exact same link that you used to sign in for the original 40 minutes will allow you to re-sign in for another 40 minutes. So you'll be able to continue to extend, but just know that before everybody freaks out because you got cut off, know that you might get hit at that 40-minute mark. And I think it's still happening. As recently as this week, I had somebody Zoom us, and then we got kicked out at the 40 minutes. So I think they're kind of ebbing and flowing depending on peak schedules, depending on what time of day.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you so much, Flora, for that. Let me go ahead and turn it over to Miranda Van Dyke. She is the state's communications director. We're lucky to have her here. She's going to be letting us know what tools they offer. And as Flora mentioned, there's a lot of great candidates out there. What are we doing on the coordinated campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on. It's been great to hear about all of the wonderful work that's going on in Bernalillo County. And so it's always so exciting for me to hear about Democrats organizing, and especially now when I don't get to see it as much every day because I'm working from my own house. This has been wonderful. For the state party, one of the big things we did is we wanted to move quickly on this. And so we understood that we have lots of incredible Democrats all across the state who are trying to organize their communities, trying to stay in touch. And we created a virtual hub where we wanted to put everything that the state party is doing, everything we know of that county parties or wards are doing, and then everything that candidates are doing all in one place, and give people as easy access as possible. So that hub's at nmdemocrats.org/virtual campaign. And I'm happy to put that link in the chat, definitely. But what that is it kind of brings together all of our events. So we recently wrapped up a 33 county tour where our chair, Marg Elliston, came to each county virtually through Zoom. And it was great because you got to hear from people really directly, both sharing what we're doing at the party, sharing our work on the upcoming primary, on the coordinated, on delegate selection, and also hearing directly from people where we don't always know, what the tone is in Roswell, especially right now where we can't get out there physically. Or what's going on in Hobbs. And so it's wonderful to hear directly from people and have them say, this person has been really causing trouble in the local paper, or people are really mad about masks out here, and how do we talk about that? So that's been really helpful. But what this is it brings together those events that are happening from individual candidates. We have so many incredible Democrats running for office. And so we have every time that someone's having a regular event, or whether they're having, something that is one-off, some big event, we're happy to put that up on the website. We try to keep it as updated as possible. We do miss things occasionally. I will be the first to admit that, but the last piece of it for us is kind of community events. So events like ward meetings, like county party meetings, and those I think we have had a harder time gathering. So if people are starting to set up these regular ward meetings where that, the first Wednesday of every month, you're going to be holding a meeting, please send that information to us, and we'll make sure it's up on our website, and it's just another place for people to find out about that information. The best thing for us is just date, time, and access information if you're comfortable having it public, or who they should contact for access information. So that's what this has been, is kind of just a central resource. It's also where you can find out about things that you can do to stay involved with the Democratic Party, things like phone banking. I know that I'm assuming everyone on this call is already very involved. So, but for people who maybe aren't quite as active, it's a great opportunity to come on and have an easy way to find out everything that's still going on, even as we face these challenges that we've never seen before. In terms of the coordinated, I think that that's something that we're absolutely moving forward with, but we are adapting like everyone. So we're lucky to have just a really strong team, really strong candidates. We're waiting to see what happens in the primary. We're almost there, and really looking forward to all of us Democrats being able to come together and support our candidates. And we're working with our candidates who we know are going to be our nominees to make sure that we're set up and we have that infrastructure. So we've been looking at opportunities for things like texting programs, things like digital advertising, continuing to beef up that website, ways that we can run phone banking more effectively. Throughout the primary season, and as we've looked at absentee voting, I really tried to encourage people to vote absentee above all else. We've gotten to really develop some techniques that we've found some more successful than others. We ran a digital advertising campaign along with Deb for Congress, with Congresswoman Holland's campaign, and it was incredibly successful. We had engagement rates, so just the rate at which people were willing to click the link that we were showing them. Those rates were something like 400% of normal political ads. They were just off the charts for this, to the point where I was talking to one of the people who works on our digital ads, and he seemed almost giddy at the response we're getting to these. We've been working on a relational organizing campaign, which is an opportunity for people to pledge to vote absentee and let us know who else they're going to reach out to about that. And that's a really great way for us to test this kind of organizing that still focuses on community. We've seen lots of people in the chat today talking about how they've spoken to their family or their neighbors about voting absentee. And that's really important, especially in times like this where you know, we need people to have those individual messages, and we need people to be getting them both from, you know, from Facebook, from their television, and then also from their neighbor who, you know, walks by 6 feet away and says like, hey, you voted absentee yet? So we're really trying to make sure we figure out which of those strategies we're currently feel comfortable with, and which ones we're really up on, and which ones we need to develop a little bit more and keep working on. So this whole strategy ahead of the primary has given us a lot of really good insight into that. And it's great for us to see, you know, this happening as well at the county and ward level and county precinct level. And we're really hopeful that those places where we are still, you know, trying to figure things out and are still trying to adapt, we're just going to be able to make them that much stronger by the time we get to the general election and keep New Mexico blue, because that's what we're all here for.
Thank you so much, Miranda. Will you guys be coordinating with the, for example, for Flora, with the county chairs on messaging and some of these tools? For example, a little bit more on not just partnering up with candidates, but how we might be able to do that as well with, you know, how we might be able to share some of these messages in our personal Facebook pages or in our listservs or email blasts that we might have. How are you guys, you know, how do we bridge that gap between accessing the information that you guys have and us getting that message and helping amplify the message that we're getting from the state party?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, you know, the county party in Bernalillo is already doing an amazing job of this. I see things, you know, in your newsletter that are absolutely your own, you know, localized take on things, which is what we want. You know, we don't just need people reposting exactly what we said, but showing how it affects Bernalillo County and taking those messages and running with them. So I think you're already doing a wonderful job of this. I would say one of the big things, a thing I really like, and I feel a little personal about it because I definitely, it was my first big project here at DPNM, but DPNM Headlines is a weekly email that goes out that focuses on 3 big things. Usually it's 2 to 4 big things, but usually about 3 big things that have happened that week. Sometimes that'll be things that we're talking about our press releases, and sometimes there'll be bigger, more national news stories that we maybe didn't have a statement out about, but that are still really relevant, really important. And it breaks them down into, you know, first just kind of simple bullet points. Then it includes what Democrats are saying about a certain issue, including links to their Facebook posts, tweets, statements, whatever it is that they put out. And then also some relevant articles for maybe background, things like that. And I think that's a really great start, especially for people who are in these leadership positions and have these bigger platforms. We'd love to have people, you know, use that as a template for, okay, like this article talks about, you know, voting rights in the context of COVID-19. And that's something that we're focused on, state party's focused on. You know, maybe we can amplify that, and you can either use those bullet points we have, where it's already broken down pretty simply for messaging, or, you know, talk about it if you have a personal experience or you know somebody in Bernalillo County or in your neighborhood who has had this experience, you can make it more personal. So we definitely aim for that to be a tool to just keep making sure that we're getting those messages out, especially to the people who are really eager to share and eager to be on that same page. And then I would say just, I would also say like keeping in track of our social media is a good start as well. We have all of our social media is at NMDems, and I'll put all these links absolutely in the chat. And we definitely encourage people to, you know, what's on our social media tends to be what we're focusing on that day. think you're muted, Sierra.
You're muted, Damian.
I'm still muted. We do have some time for general questions and answers as well. One of the things that we would like to know from our 22 participants that are on here is, how do you plan to use what you've learned here tonight? As well as any questions that you might have had for any of our panelists, including Miranda. We'll take those as well. With that, I'm going to go to a quick video, and then we can start taking some general Q&As to give you all time to type that up.
Hey everybody, this is Ray Ellen Smith. I'm the president of Indivisible Nob Hill, and I'm also a member of the Westside Dems. We all need to make sure we get out the vote this primary season. There's so many ways to do that. You can make calls, you can call your family, you can call your friends. During this COVID season, we all need haircuts. We all need new makeup. Everybody needs it to make a connection. A lot of people just want to talk to each other. Make sure you call your family and friends and encourage them to send in their absentee ballot application, get their absentee ballot, and vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll also have some resources. Jenny, do we have some questions we want to go to, or should I?
We don't have any questions at this point.
May I say something real quick? Sue reminded me that we have the trainings available that are being given by the Democratic National Committee. The DNC has some wonderful trainings on organizing virtually, and a lot of different very helpful information coming out of those. So we're linking to those from our website as well. And Sue, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
So Ivan, I think since we've gotten some of our participants and we've got a little bit of time, if you can unmute the participants as well, I think that might be all right.
I'm gonna
if the participant, if the attendee will raise a hand to talk, I will unmute them one at a time. I don't see a thing where I can unmute everybody.
Perfect, that works great. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was just saying, now everybody has heard the voice of God from the Democratic Party of Bernalillo County. Ivan, thank you. I was just going to say that, I really want to encourage folks to allow me to help promote and engage some of my universe with your universe. When I look at the people that are attending today, like Mr. Deputy Kenneth Scott, who can provide a voice to a universe that I just don't simply access. And I think there's a lot of capacity for leveraging one another's networks. And I wanted just to encourage folks to utilize me in any way they feel that can be beneficial. Kenneth is a young, dynamic, well-spoken man of color who's in leadership in Bernalillo County. And I'd love to see more people learn about his journey and have him do that outreach, because I think that trusted messengers make a difference during elections. And each of you are trusted messengers for a particular universe. And so I just want to affirm your maybe thought about, well, maybe I can go to Facebook Live, or maybe I can do my Instagram feed, or maybe I can go live to Twitter before the election, which is in now 6 days. I want to encourage you, yes, you can, and yes, it will matter.
Definitely. We're going to go quickly to Dorothy, Sue, and then Ellen. Go ahead, Dorothy.
Okay, well, this has been really inspiring. I've been thinking I need to set up a Zoom meeting for the 171 activists. And I'd like your help with it, like next week in the evening. So let's get that, because I can't do all of this by myself.
Absolutely, Dorothy. We'll get you set up. I know that we can do that. I'm actually free. We'll get you up with an account and we'll touch base, and then we can email it to contacts.
And I live like 30 yards from God. You know that, right?
Yes.
And he's going to help me a lot.
Oh, perfect. Good. Sue, go. Sue, did you want to say something or make a comment? You're still currently muted.
Yes, they do. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. I wanted to thank all our panelists for the great job and resources, and especially the inspiration that they're giving to all of us tonight. I personally wanted to put another plug in for the Democratic National Training Committee free webinars. You know, I listen to them, they're 1-hour webinars. I listen to them on my phone while I'm taking my daily walk. And you would not believe how many more steps I get in when I'm listening to them because the discussion is so lively. So I strongly recommend you check them out. As Flora said, you can access them through the Democratic Party website. Also in the table that Damian is going to go through, there are plenty of links for all kinds of good resources. We have resources in there for each level of the Democratic Party as well as the West Side Dems. We have information about training. There's articles about the value of incorporating social media in campaign and organizing. And there's also links directly to companies like Zoom and WebEx that provide instructions about how to use their services. So please, after this is over, as Damian said, we'll be sending out the resources, but really take a look at them because they can be very helpful to you. That's all.
Thank you, Sue, so much. And we'll be putting that share screening in just a minute. And this is also going to be on the website, correct, Flora?
Yeah, yes, it's already up. We have it in the training section of the berliodems.org website.
Perfect. Go ahead, Ellen.
Hi, everybody. This is Ellen Copeland. I just want to say thank you so much for a great panel. I also just want to put in a plug for the West Side Dems and all the work that we are doing. I want to say thank you to Damian Lara, who's now our new chair of our program committee. And thank you, Sue and Ivan. Sue is obviously chair for the West Side Dems Training Committee, and Ivan is our vice chair for the West Side Dems. And I want to just put a plug out there for anybody who wants to contribute to our newsletter and our website. We're looking at beefing up our online communication. Jenny has agreed to help out as well. So what I envision is that we start educating West Side Dems about all of the great things that are happening on the West Side, not just politically, but also all the great people who are doing great things, like, of course, Mr. Colon, who we featured in an article in our newsletter. So I just want to say thank you, everybody, and please help us get the word out about, voting and helping all of our fantastic West Side candidates to get elected. We've got a bunch of them, and a bunch of them that we need to keep in their seats right now. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate all of you, and this has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Before you step up, do you also want to put in a plug-in for the June 3rd training and meeting?
Oh, sure. So Damian has put together a great June 3rd meeting, online Zoom meeting with all of the West Side legislators, talking about the upcoming special session, which is going to start on June 18th. And so everybody is welcome to join that meeting, bring your questions so that you can get sort of the firsthand knowledge of what our fantastic group of legislators are going to be doing. We have, of course, Representative Mo Maestas, we have Senator Linda Lopez, we have Representative Joy Garrett, Representative Patricia Roybal Caballero, and who am I forgetting? Damian.
You're muted, Damian.
Karen Bash.
Karen, thank you, Ivan. I forget that sometimes if I just open my mouth, not everybody hears me. But yes, Karen Bash is also confirmed participant. So thank you so much for that, Ellen. And we will be providing those resources as we go through. If you want to make sure, or if you have friends or family that are on the west side and they want to have access to their elected officials, this is a great way to do it. Let us know. We'll get you that link here on the participants for everybody, where you can go to subscribe, make sure that you get on the mailing list, and you can send in your $10 as well. I'm going to go ahead and shift gears here for a second before we go to closing remarks for all of the resources that are available. So here's some of the resources that we've got going on that Sue did a great job of putting on. This is in the training section as well. If you want information on how to use social media, what the social media statistics are, tips, as Mr. Brian Colon indicated, we have some really what we call pro tips on that really, if you think you've got a cursory understanding of these issues, then you can also go to those pro tips and actually learn how to do more things with the tools that you're given. I know that this is a lot of information, but you can have some time to actually go through on tutorials, participations. We did hear some from our video guests about the use of texting platforms, the use of phone technology systems. Those are huge right now, but as Brenda indicated, you will be surprised how far a personalized note in the mail goes. You'll be surprised how far a personal phone call goes out. We can do all of these things through virtual phone banking in the Vote Builder lists. Contact myself, contact Flora if you need any information on how to get in touch with your neighbors. There's other great tools like Nextdoor that are available, and there's trainings for that as well that are not as partisan or party focused. We do want to start to cast a larger net in our neighborhoods with our peers. As Mr. Brian Colon indicated, you are a trusted source with your neighbors, with your family, and you will be incredibly surprised how far some of these personalized touches go, and we will help you to do that as much as possible. Reaching out and giving that information really makes you a really trusted source, and we'll be able to provide that for you as much as we can. Of course, we will start to do a better job. I'm very excited about the database that Flora Lucero is putting together to help pair up those activists in our blocks, in our neighborhoods, in our precincts, with ward chairs who are looking for and to fill the split precincts. That's going to be a huge benefit to all of us. And helping across those lines, those are just imaginary lines, and we want to make sure that we reach out to neighbors and friends and family, even if they're not in our precincts, even if they're not in our particular ward. But that goes a long way, and we'll be able to get that, so make sure that we can get those. I know that our maps are up and coming. We've got great precinct maps already, and then we will be finalizing those ward maps as well to make sure that we know which precincts are in there as well. Of course, all of this information can be emailed to you, or you can also go directly to the website, to the training sections, to make sure that you've got that information. There's plenty, and of course, you're always just welcome to email us, contact us, call us if you need any one-on-one help to help you do any of the activities that you've learned here today, and how you might be able to maximize your reach and sphere influence within your precinct, within your block, within your family, and within the county of Bernalillo. Go ahead.
Damian, I just wanted to put an exclamation mark on, I think, something that Flora said, or maybe it was Miranda. And if I'm known for a couple things in my work and activism in the party and in party politics, I think I have a pretty solid reputation for having an ability to raise money and to get people to part with their resources. And I just want to really highlight, I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly who said it, but somebody talked about, and maybe it was even Brenda, who said people are willing to go online and give through these social media platforms. And it is remarkable. I want to say thank you to Ellen for featuring me as a hero because of our care package delivery program where we delivered over 6,000 care packages in the last 7 weeks in about 13 counties and the 13 tribes, and capstone drop in Church Rock in Navajo Nation this last weekend. But we raised nearly $15,000 on a GoFundMe site for our $45,000 project. So a third of the money that we needed for our project, we raised online on Facebook through GoFundMe, and that's it. I mean, it is truly amazing. And Ellen was a donor. And like I was quick to say, I know, Ellen, thank you for that very gracious article, but I appreciated you leading with my sentiment, which is, I saw grown men cry over the last 2 months when we brought boxes of food to their home and let them know that we had not forgotten about them and that they weren't alone. And the real heroes were the ones that stepped up and said, we need help. And I think that this social media time for us with Zoom and with Facebook and with Instagram gives us a chance to reach out to one another in a very significant way. Just because we're in isolation doesn't mean we're alone. And I just want to really emphasize that people in New Mexico are so generous. And if you ask, they will give. And I don't know who said it earlier, but I just want to validate that because I've just lived it over the last 7 weeks. And I'm a fundraiser by second nature, I think. But I will just tell you that it is an excellent time to go online and ask people to join you in your efforts, particularly as it relates to raising money.
Thank you so much. That was Brenda who mentioned that, and it is specific. And you're absolutely, Brian, you've inspired so many people. You know, in my limited sphere, you know, on my Facebook, indicated just how difficult it's been for my clients and the people that I work with. And even without asking, you're absolutely right. I had neighbors who are Republicans come up to me and say, hey, you know, we saw you post on Facebook, you know, can I buy a gift card? Can I bring some food over? You know, who are these people? Do you want me to put in touch? And, you know, almost without trying, neighbors came together, and actually we, on a much smaller scale, were able to identify people right here in our neighborhoods, right here in our ward and on the west side who needed help. And we were able to get those care packages, those gift cards out to people who really needed it. And so thank you so much for inspiring all of us to do our part, Brian and Brenda, for making that known to us, because it is a specific task that we're looking for, and it goes all the way through. You know, we had people, even our elected officials, you know, Ellen indicated, Momaestra, he's been generous enough to donate money to our ward so that we can do these mailings, so that we can do these personalized reach out to the people. And so, yeah, thank you so much for that, Brian. It's been inspiring and heartwarming and uplifting to see all of that work here in New Mexico that we're doing.
I agree. It's been fabulous. And Sue, in the chat here, Sue asked if I could talk about the maps and lists that are available. So we do have a vote builder service team. If you would like to get a list of Democrats in your precinct or ward, you can request a list from our vote builder service team. Or if you are a ward chair or an active precinct chair and you would like access to vote builder, contact us and we will get you an account and get you set up and get you trained on vote builder, and you can run your own lists. Either way works for us. We want people to connect with Democrats in their communities. And the maps that are for the new precincts, we don't have the maps in ward form yet. We have the precinct maps, and those are available a couple of different ways. Your ward chairs all have access to the maps. They're going to be part of the database that Carlene has put together. So there'll be the same maps accessible there as well. And as soon as the county clerk's office who handles map making is very busy. And so they're, getting printed maps is not something that they're doing. It's not real high right now on their priority list, and I can understand that. So as soon as they get them made, we'll be able to purchase them and hopefully drop some ward maps and be able to make those available to people. So, but for now, we do have the precinct maps that show how your precinct was split, and happy to get those to you as well.
And those precincts are uploaded to the Vote Builder already, so you can run precinct-specific lists. We've done that for a few of our precincts in Ward 16A. Brenda's doing a fabulous job with that. I know Jenny's gotten some of that. Nick Harris, who's also one of our precinct captains, is getting those as well. So that's a huge resource for everybody. If you're not a precinct chair or you're not a ward chair, and you need help with that, you can reach out to them. There is a data team that Flora has put together that tries to make these turn around, but feel free to reach out to any of your neighboring wards. You know, I had a great training with Wendy Parker Wood. When I was first elected a ward chair, she took time to help me go through those. She ran lists for me. I would be happy to pass that forward to anybody who's looking to do that forward. I've actually just started to, with the help of Brenda Pace, learn a little bit more about Vote Builder, and I've gotten faster about it. So feel free to reach out to us for those lists and who your neighbors are and how to contact them as well. So thank you so much for that, Flora. Let's go to closing remarks from anybody. I don't know if Brenda or Miranda, do you have any other closing remarks before we close up today?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. Again, this was great to see.
So thank you for all of our participants who stuck around with us for all of this. We really appreciate it. I just want to again thank our great panelists for all of the wealth of information that they provided. But I also want to give a special thanks to Ivan, you know, the voice of God on Zoom. As we indicated, he's done an amazing job getting this. I know he's helped out a lot of people learn this and continue to do it to spread forward. Sue, who you heard earlier, Sue Wilkins helped organize this. She works incredibly hard behind the scenes. She's put together power slides. She's helped craft agendas. She directed a lot of the videos that you saw here from our special guests. So thank you so much. And of course, thank you so much, Jenny. Jenny is actually one of our precinct chairs in Ward 16A. So thank you so much for fielding all of the questions and comments for all of our participants. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We've had, I think I've learned a lot, and I hope that you have too as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.